Our host for tonight is Ruel Estevera. He is an award-winning author and editor of 16 books. He is an editor at the Philippine Daily Inquirer and holds a master's degree in journalism from the Ateneo de Manila University, where he has been teaching at its Department of Communication for 25 years. He is the creator of a new podcast on Pinoy pop culture titled Super Random.
Good evening, everyone. I am Ruel De Vera. On behalf of Megaworld Foundation and Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art, welcome to the grand launch of 7.23%, a virtual exhibition. Tonight, we will open an online art exhibit curated by Marika Constantino, featuring artwork made by women from ILOMOCA's Edwin Valencia collection. 7.23% represents the proportion of works attributed to women artists that compose ILOMOCA's overall collection. With this exhibit, ILOMOCA aims to tackle women's representation and gender inequalities in art and cultural institutions. Tonight's opening also coincides with the 11th anniversary of the signing of the Magna Carta for Women into Philippine law. The Magna Carta for Women allows women to enjoy their rights without discrimination, and a fitting way to commemorate its 11th year of passage is an examination of the disproportionate realities still faced by women. We are joined tonight by Ms. Tefel Pasigan Valentino, Vice President at Megaworld Foundation, Mr. Ed Valencia, Primary Patron of ILOMOCA, and Dr. Jenny Lind Elmaco of the Press and Cultural Affairs at Austrian Embassy Manila. Also with us are Maureen Austria, Lira Garsoliano, Ali Garibay, and Michelle Holyanes Lua, selected artists featured in the exhibit, along with exhibit curator Marika Constantino. They will be holding a discussion on the exhibit later on. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge the partners who made this event possible. This live stream is co-presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. We'd also like to thank GMA Western Visayas, Austrian Embassy Manila, Barefoot Wine, Mirasu Wines, Sakura, Berkeley, Art Expands, Creatives on Lockdown, Guhit Pinas Capis, Iloilo Arts, Umbra, and Viva XCon Iloilo. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's program with a message from Dr. Jenny Lind Elmaco, Press and Cultural Affairs at the Austrian Embassy Manila. Dr. Jenny Lind Elmaco was the project manager of Women Without Borders in Vienna. She has handled projects for international entities on gender and development, including the Asian Development Bank. She's a regular delegate to the United Nations Council for the Status of Women meetings in New York, representing the International Federation of Business and Professional Women. Dr. Elmaco is an awardee of the prestigious Marie Curie Fellowship on Sustainable Peacebuilding of the European Commission. In the Philippines, she is an accredited expert of the National Gender Resource Pool of the Philippine Commission on Women and managed a project on the implementation of the Magna Carta of Women. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jenny Lind Elmaco.
Friends, art lovers, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. As was stated years ago by Gustav Klimt and other artists, der Zeit ihr Kunst, der Kunst ihr Freiheit. To every age, it's art. To every art, it's freedom. What we have today is the expression and celebration of this freedom through art. In behalf of the Embassy of Austria, our ambassador, Her Excellency Bita Rasulian, we congratulate the organizers, especially to the curator, Marika Constantino. May I introduce you to Renate Bertelmann, Linda Cristanel, Lore Hoyerman, Karen Mack, and Margot Pilz. What unites these women is that they were all part of the Viennese art scene in the 1970s. Their passion and positivity led to a resistance which ultimately found a prolific echo in the Austrian women's movement, and they became forerunners. They found the courage to transform what was pressing on their minds into artistic works. It is exactly what is happening here with the incredible art of Maureen Austria, Lyra Garceliano, Ali Garibay, Michelle Holianes Lua, and others. The artist Vanessa German once said, "Anything and everything that I know about bravery, I only know through love." An apt quote for this event, and an apt quote for our host, Iloilo, the city of love. The Magna Carta of Women, 11 years old today, was made by courageous women from all walks of life, coming together to express strength and to express love. It was made to break the silence, the cycle of violence, and to shatter glass ceilings so that every Filipina can reach their potentials and be the best version of themselves. And the artworks here are expressions of love and of hope. According to the Global Gender Gap, the Philippines has maintained its position as the most gender equal country in Asia. And yet, because of COVID-19, because of this pandemic, a lot of women are vulnerable to issues such as poverty, unemployment, and violence. The art we see here from the creative genius of women artists is an effort to tell stories. These works are meant to bridge the gap, to connect us with each other. And it is meant for us to reflect on the challenges and opportunities here in the Philippines. We live in an interconnected world where actions and advocacies can jump across islands, borders, and time zones. Women here and abroad have the right to live in dignity, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. On this anniversary of the Magna Carta for Women, let us rededicate ourselves for the cause of women's rights and gender equality. One of triumph, one of breaking the barriers, of fixing the leaky faucets and finding that space where she can be whoever she wants to be. May each stroke, each color and hue remind us of how we are all in this together. To all of you artists, I have something very special. I leave a quote from my favorite Frida Kahlo. She once said, "You deserve the best of the best because you're one of the few people who, in this miserable world, are still honest with themselves, and that's the only thing that matters." Thank you for your honesty, for your love, and for your art. Good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Jeneline Almaco, Press and Cultural Affairs at the Austrian Embassy Manila. At this point, let's hear from Mr. Ed Valencia, collector of the ILOMOCA Ed Valencia Art Collection.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at this online launch of our virtual exhibit curated by Marika Constantino, which is aptly called 7.23%, which, as you will already have read, represents the approximate ratio of artworks of close to 50 women artists relative to the whole collection I have made available to ILOMOCA. My mom has always been my inspiration for both art appreciation and art collecting. And long before I had acquired any of their artworks, I was already familiar with two Ilongga artists, namely Nelfa Kerubin and Ofelia Helvezon Teki, because of my mom. Art collecting as a passion was something I started during my professional career after grad school. For the most part, I always followed a simple rule of thumb. Do I like the art? Which I know is quite personal and subjective, and can I afford it? I was always gender neutral with whichever artists I followed. Quite frankly, I did not even know about the 7.23% ratio until this was mentioned to me by a museum staff. So this exhibit was conceived and now being virtually shared to engage you, me, and all of us into meaningful discussions about gender imbalance and inequities, particularly for women artists and for women in general. Perhaps being gender neutral is not right in areas where that imbalance is quite deep and pronounced. And you will also probably agree that the Filipina national artist in visual arts is long overdue. I hope that beyond these discussions and exhibit, we reflect individually and collectively on how we can do our share in addressing this imbalance. In the meantime, please enjoy the online exhibit and discussions this evening. These are extraordinary times we're facing, and I therefore want to wish you all well, and please do take care. Thank you.
And that was Mr. Ed Valencia, art collector and primary patron of ILOMOCA. Indeed, there is a need to create more initiatives geared towards the empowerment of women artists and women in general. Beyond giving women artists a platform, ILOMOCA also aims to inspire conversation and challenge inequality in art institutions. To give you a glimpse of ILOMOCA's 7.23% exhibit, here's an introduction from its curator, Marika Constantino. Marika Constantino is an artist and curator who has participated in significant exhibitions in the Philippines and abroad. She has a degree from the UP College of Architecture and took further studies at the UP College of Fine Arts with art history as her major. She was a Global Cultural Fellow of the Institute of International Cultural Relations at the University of Edinburgh, was part of a cultural leadership program at King's College in London, and was awarded a New York Fellowship by the Asian Cultural Council. Aside from her individual art practice, she co-directed the programs and activities of 98B Collaboratory from 2012 to 2018, curated the first United Building Community Museum in Escolta, Manila, and the Distiller Limtuaco Museum in Intramuros, Manila. In February 2020, Constantino founded Cantina, an art space for co-learning and co-creation in Rojas City, Capiz. She is currently based in both Manila and Rojas City, Capiz in the Philippines.
Let me first thank the staff of ILOMOCA for making the execution of this concept possible. Despite the pandemic and the circumstances that prevent a tangible manifestation of this project, we are opening this after all. I am also grateful to Sir Edwin Valencia, who supported the concept from the get-go. The artists here, the invited speakers, esteemed guests, and the audience who are online right now, your time and presence are immensely appreciated. While I am still hoping that this project will materialize within the confines of ILOMOCA in the future, the conversation and concern about women's representation must be immediate and continuous. Within this compilation are pieces made by women artists, which form 7.23% of the whole collection. This is neither judgment nor appraisal of the collected works. Most definitely, it is also not an endorsement of the disproportion. The reality is that this relates to women's representation and gender inequities that also exist in arts and cultural institutions, which are not in isolation from the overall power structures and patriarchal culture that are still inherent in our society today. With the current health crisis, the women's struggle has even become more untenable. The assembly of works do not necessarily provide answers. Rather, it poses questions regarding the actuality of inequality. We should not be complicit. Hopefully, we can all challenge ourselves to better understand the predicament and be part of the solution in achieving justice, equality, and empowerment for all. Again, thank you very much for your time.
Yes. That was Marika Constantino, curator of the 7.23% virtual art exhibit at ILOMOCA. To formally open the exhibit, we have with us Ms. Tefel Pesigan Valentino, Vice President at Megaworld Foundation, to lead the toast.
Thank you very much.
Tefel Pesigan Valentino
Yes,
is a strong advocate for museums
that
and
was Marika
cultural work.
Constantino, curator
She
of
has worked with Iloilo Museum. Hindi pa ako. Saan na ako? She has worked with the Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art and Chinatown Museum at Lucky Chinatown, Binondo. She's currently working on the Mactan World Museum in Mactan, Cebu that is to open soon. She is also Vice President and Head of Marketing and Business Development of Megaworld Lifestyle Malls. We also have with us Mr. Ed Valencia, Dr. Jenny Lind Almaco, and exhibit curator Marika Constantino. Joining the toast are Maureen Austria, Lira Garciliano, Ali Garibay, and Michelle Lua Polyanes, who are among the artists who will be featured in the
He's currently
collection.
working on the Mactan World Museum in Mactan, Cebu that is to open soon.
Good morning. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a celebration and a testament to saying, in the midst of every crisis lies a great opportunity. The pandemic forced our museums to close. However, it also brought us to a bigger opportunity to open not just to our community and our country, but also globally to promote Filipino art. The Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art is proud to unveil its first virtual exhibition entitled 7.23%, featuring artworks created by women artists in time for the 11th anniversary of the signing of the Magna Carta of Women. So in behalf of Megaworld and ILOMOCA, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has helped us in this event. Dr. Jenny Elmaco, our 50 artists featured in this exhibition, and we are joined tonight by Maureen Austria, Ali Garibay, Lyra Garciliano, Michelle Holianes Lua, and of course, our curator, Ms. Marika Constantino, Sir Ed Valencia, our dear patron of ILOMOCA. I'd also like to thank our partners, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, GMA Network, the Austrian Embassy, Barefoot Wine, Miraso Wines, Sakura, and Berkeley. So everyone, let's raise our glass in salute to the women artists and their contribution to the Philippine art landscape. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
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 To get to know the exhibit better, let's watch a short clip on the works that will be featured. To begin our online conversations on women representation, gender equality, and how 7.23% explores and challenges these realities, let's welcome Maureen Austria, Ali Garibay, Lira Garciliano, Michelle Olianes Lua, and Marika Constantino. Maureen Austria is an artist whose works cross from sculptures, paintings, and installations, navigating the layers of self, relationships, and society, seeking identity in spaces of articulation and expression. Recently, she has worked on Deling, a work that emphasizes social status and religion of the 1950s Negrense dogma that shaped the local society. She has also received the Grand Award for Metrobank Art and Design Excellence, or MADE, for sculpture recognition in 2017. Lira Garciliano's research centers on the investigation and critique of art ecosystems, and her output is often presented in installations, paintings, moving images, comics, and writing. She's particularly interested in how prevailing economic models impact artistic practice. She's a graduate of interdisciplinary studies at the Ateneo de Manila University and holds a BFA in Studio Arts and an MA in Art, Theory, and Criticism from the University of the Philippines. She's a co-founding editor of Traffic and a creator of Mickey Blue. Ali Garibay is a painter, organizer, and mother to Alon. She recently had two solo exhibitions this March and July 2020 at Patuloy ang Gulong at Art Cube Gallery and Winding at Blank Gallery, respectively. Her works dealing with memory, time, and human relations are characterized by the moody portrayal of people and scenes rendered cinematically in evocative colors. Layers and script-like abstraction are recurring motifs in her work. Michelle Olyanes Lua practices the art of upcycling, the process of transforming useless materials into new creative forms and value. Philippine folklore, discourse in gender balance and prerogative, dreams and reality are recurring themes in her work. Her recent achievements include being in Mindanao's top 5 finalists in the Philippine Art Awards and a feature as one of the 114 international artists in the book on surrealism and lowbrow genre, the Encyclopedia of Fernal Affairs. So now, let's begin our discussion. Our first question, our first question is, how do you think the arts and culture sector can better support women artists? Let's start with our curator, Marika. What do you think?
So, with this question, I'm kind of reminded of one of the readings written by artist Joan Semmel. And she wrote, I will quote, "If there are no great celebrated women artists, that's because the powers that be have not been celebrating them, but not because they are not there." So using this quote as a jump off point, I feel that on a macro level, we must revamp the nature of our institutional structures, whether it be cultural or educational, so that we can call attention to identity, sexuality, politics, and history. If we feel that art is a record of culture, and you see the record based on just the male perspective, then this results into a history of patriarchy and not the whole story of who we are. So maybe I'm sure the artists would have their own perspective regarding this question, but maybe let me put that point across.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, what do you think?
I think there is less research or published on the works on women. That is why it is more difficult to strengthen its value. Yeah, and the culture within the creative industry is also in need of change. That's what I think.
Yeah, kasi global parity and the gender parity in art has always been there eh. So parang it's embedded in us like 18th century pa ganun na. So yeah, now I think in a way we're trying to catch up then.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
more exhibits from women artists, more women artists being showcased.
Okay. Lyra, what about you?
Oh, well, the way I tackle that question is more of, I kind of reformulated it in terms of, the way I tackle that question is, can you hear me now? Yeah, is that, I figured I reformulated it in terms of like redefining some of the words because like for instance the art and cultural sector, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, does that mean like the people in power, or are they the institutions, meaning spaces, physical space, or is it those who are responsible for making these spaces? And then also in terms of support, we have to also wonder, what does it mean by support? Does it mean having access, or is it about helping? What is it exactly? And then in terms of, I think Maui also said that in terms of women artists, yeah, I mean, we have to identify this group, and well, not just this group or any marginalized sector, because we will be talking about it in terms of how these are actually, they're not the same. There's a lot of things about a marginalized culture, a marginalized sector. Like we have to talk about in terms of class orientation. We have to talk about in terms of um, social theories that support them or do not support them. So I guess going back to my reformulation, I figured out it would be like, how can the people in power or those responsible in these institutions give more access to these marginalized groups? So it doesn't have to be just women, but of course, this is a show about that, but it's talking about everybody else. And even with women themselves, I mean, we're not, when we're talking about cutting across borders, definitely women are not equal there, because once we get to talking about our ability to cross boundaries and borders with our passports, those with powerful passports who are women will definitely have more say than those who don't. So yeah, support is a difficult word, and yeah, we should talk about that more.
Yeah.
All right, who's left? Ali.
On a more practical note, I guess I'm coming from an organizer's point of view as a part of athletics, where we're focused on art education.
Athletics.
Yes. Um, we as artists, as women artists, and as artists who are also educators, or who can be or who want to be educators, should invest in co-creating, implementing, and investing in good quality art education and art education programs and teaching materials for the youth, starting as early as grade school and especially in high school, where they're starting to define their paths, their passions, their interests. And so that artistically or creatively inclined kids, well, women, um, can hone their skills early and see the arts and the creative industry as viable and even lucrative career choices. And as well as, of course, affirmative of their passions. So empowering. So, ayan.
Yes, thank you, Ali. All right, our second question, which is, of course, for everyone. What insights and encouragement can you give to people pursuing the arts? Let's start with Maureen.
Well, I'm coming from point of view of somebody who did not study art formally. Um, I would say, if you want to pursue art, just get ready for rejection. And but if you really want it, you just go for it.
All right, thank you for that, Lyra.
Lunch. That was it's like, oh my god, just go straight. Yeah. um. Well, we need to forward. We need to like forward the narrative. I mean, we need to start also I mean, it's not easy kasi to say in terms of like, yeah, just do your thing, express yourself. That's pretty basic. I guess we start with that. We start with that when it comes to children. But when you're older, you realize it's not that. When you're, I mean, any form of doing things or expressing oneself is always going to lead to wondering how one is able to express oneself. I mean, what are the platforms that will allow these expressions or even, conversations? So we need to forward those narratives and study the structures that actually limit us and prevent us from going into these spaces, whether they're mainstream or not. I mean, what is preventing us? Is it all these traditional ideas that because you're a certain person, whether you're a person of color, whether you're a person of a certain economic class, or whether you're a woman or a man, then because of that, you're pigeonholed in terms of doing what it is that you're expected to do. So I guess my encouragement or my insight would be is like you need to study these things. You need to actually question what is considered traditional, and you need to really poke around and that way you will understand the rejection that Maureen was like talking about. Because rejection is not, I mean, it's not because rejection is just, there are reasons to these rejections. Some of them are really like, embedded, like the reasons why you're rejected. Like some people are rejected because of not so much because of what they cannot do, but because of who they are. So, yeah, anyway, from there, yeah, okay.
So it's not so much really obstacles, but sort of set definitions that need to be restudied.
Oh yeah, because it's really systemic. I mean, people think the art. I mean, yeah, with this pandemic, everything we now know is like everybody's like learning. For those who haven't realized that yet, they're learning that a lot of things that have been happening through centuries have been there because there are people who insist that they should be there, like in terms of belief systems. So yeah, we gotta I guess hope again.
Thank, thank you. Ali, please.
Well, in relation to that about knowing or I think it's important to know yourself and know who you are not too. Because as Lira said, there are a lot of conditioning or factors either externally or internally because you were conditioned to be so that define you or may constrict you. But I think it's also a jumping point. I mean, wherever you are right now as an artist or as yourself or how you know yourself will always be your starting point. And I think, I mean, I feel like I'm still a newbie or bata pa compared sa inyo. I mean, I think you at this point you
Pabumbo ko eh.
sorry.
Daya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hindi yan. No. And I mean, in terms of because as an artist, you come to a point like Lyra, she's at her point where she's asserting narratives or questioning, challenging narratives, and it's about being deliberate about what narratives or what positions you are taking or supporting or I mean and as Ate Marika said that we should not be complicit. I mean, I think it takes a certain stage or phase in your career or in your
Career.
yeah career. I mean, in like just knowing where you are, knowing what you do. I think yung applicable pang quote sa akin is from Natalie Portman. It's accept your lack of knowledge and use it as your asset. Your inexperience is an asset and will make you think in original and unconventional ways. Kasi parang as young artists or starting artists, I'm not so young, pero I mean, meron kasing tendency to be insecure or to grapple for context, to grapple for material, and to build your own identity or assert it. So sometimes you get intimidated by where you are or what you don't have. So I guess it's important to embrace that lack of whatever and cultivate a growth mindset. Like keep a beginner's outlook and enjoy learning and shedding old skins and transforming into, I mean, not looking for something ready made, but accept where you are as you're creating or discarding conditioning or conditioned ideas of yourself or your truths or your world. Yes.
Thank you. That was the moody portrayal of people and scenes by Ali Garibay. Michelle, what would you
Okay.
have to say?
Well, I think art is really a rough road to take. You have to have that courage and the will to push further. It's just hard to give advice because or encouragement because most of the time I'm broke. You know, you know. But I know no matter how hard, yet this is a very beautiful path. This is the most fulfilling choice because I am living what I want and I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I love. So we just need hard work, work harder, um, just create quality works, experiment, walk, maybe drink a little, talk to your locals, talk to the farmers, fishermen, or whoever. You can always get subjects or ideas or whatever. Just tell your own narratives and invest on women's artists. You just don't collect artworks because artists already have these price tags on their faces. So I mean, just support creative souls. So maybe I just can say that being an artist is really a gift as well as a curse, and we just have to live with it. and and this is a lifetime process. So good luck, everyone.
I think everybody agrees with that. And finally, our curator, Marika.
Mm. Maybe just to summarize everything, I feel that you should constantly read and be aware of what's happening around you, not just as an artist, but also as a citizen. Um, and be able, so with this mindset, you'd be able to question what you're seeing, and more importantly, what you're not seeing. And I guess if we go back to why we're all gathered here, the realization that the women's struggle is linked with class struggle. And we must understand that one form of oppression is interlocked with other forms of oppressions. So we need to be aware of that. And by being aware, we can all be part of a more energized dialogue, a more proactive action, and be part of reshaping the normative structures that continue to subjugate women artists, women in general, and all other marginalized sectors of our society.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Marika. Thank you, Marine. Thank you, Lyra. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Michelle. There you have it, everyone. We have officially opened 7.23%, a virtual exhibit at ILOMOCA. The virtual exhibition will showcase artwork by 50 women artists, which will be featured on
Yes, as a
ILOMOCA's
powder.
Facebook page from August 14 to August 10, 2020. In line with the launch, ILOMOCA is having a themed contest every week, courtesy of Barefoot Wine. The contest will be inspired by a featured artwork in 7.23%. Our first art highlight is created by Arnica Acantillado titled Sanctum. The contest is perfect for those who have quarantine gardens, for those plantitos and plantitas also. Here are the mechanics. Number one, under the contest post in the Ilomoca Facebook page, drop a photo of you enjoying your plant collection. Feel free to pose along with your pets. Number two, use the hashtag Ilomoca, hashtag Art Matters, hashtag Let's Get Barefoot, and tag 3 friends on the comments below. And number 3, the top 5 most liked entries by August 19, 12 noon will win barefoot gift prizes. A disclaimer, this contest is valid for 18 and above only. Present a government ID upon claiming the prize, and the contest is only open for those based in the National Capital Region and Iloilo. Please check out Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art on Facebook. For more information, you may also visit ilomoca.org or send an email to Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art at gmail.com. We would like to thank those who made this event possible. The Philippine Daily Inquirer, Barefoot Wine, Mira Sue Wines, GMA Western Visayas, Sakura, Berkeley, Austrian Embassy Manila, Kasibulan, Iloilo Arts, Viva XCon Iloilo, Umbra Creatives on Lockdown, Guhit Pinas Iloilo, Art Expands, and Guhit Pinas Copies. Once again, this is Ruel De Vera, and this has been 7.23% Grand Launch. Madabong nga salamat, kamaayong gabi sa tanan. Thank you, good evening, and stay safe.